everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We are going to be talking about aligning sales and marketing teams through something that we call data experiences. I am joined today by my wonderful colleague, Connor Sparkman. He is on our marketing analytics team and is going to kind of open the kimono on how Looker does analytics at Looker to accomplish this. So without further ado, let's jump in. Just a little heads up on what we're going to run through today. I'll give you an overview of data experiences and kind of like what we mean when we say that, and also how that impacts the bottom line. And then Connor is going to help me, and we're going to go through data experience at Looker and also in the wild. So here we go. So according to Gartner, spending and focus on traditional query and reporting BI environments will shift dramatically to analytics integrated into business operations and digital solutions. So this is really important to understand because this is the shift away from just BI, just a dashboard, into experiences that are integrated into what people are doing today. So what is a data experience? First, let's define our terms as we should, right? So it's exactly what it sounds like. It is the way that a person experiences data. Looker's mission is to empower people with the smarter use of data. And so what that actually really means is that people need to have data available to them in the moment that they need it. And there's a very good chance that the moment that they need data, they don't want to go into a BI tool, or nor do they need to necessarily go into a BI tool. And so the other key part of data experiences is that they are defined in the eyes of the person experiencing them. It's easy to kind of get caught up in the how we build things, how the implementation behind it impacts the experience. But at the end of the day, whoever is having that experience is defining what that means and defining what that means to them and how it's impacting their ability to consume data. So it's not just us that's saying that these are important. It's also, proved out in business impacts. So as we shift to a look at Forrester, we see that insights-driven businesses harness and implement digital insights strategically and at scale to drive, and this is the most important part, create differentiating experiences, products, and services. And this connection of an insight-driven business and this creation of custom experiences is really where we get to data experiences. And in the world of COVID, in the world of disruption, these insight-driven businesses are actually far more likely to succeed. And so there's some meat behind our theory, let's just say. So I've talked about data experiences. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what we mean when we say data experience, and then I will pass it over to Connor to kind of bring these to life. So the first data experience, super important, not to be forgotten, is our modern BI and analytics. Just because it is not the only experience does not mean that it is not an important experience. So this is all about like serving up insights and someone coming in with that vision of saying, I'm going to analyze data. However, that may not be the only way they're getting data. The next piece is integrating insights into the way that people work and into the places where they already are, so that it's almost happenstance that they stumble upon an insight. More intentional than that and more timely than that is the data-driven workflow. We have fresh data, we have insights, let's put that to use in driving operational workflows and making them more impactful with fresh data. And then finally, we have this idea of a custom application. And this is just, when you take data and you go above and beyond and you really build something that's actually entirely unrecognizable as a data experience. So those are our 4 categories of data experiences. I'm now going to pass it over to Connor, who's going to talk through how we think about this at Looker. And then we're going to go back and forth and tell you a little bit about how we really implement this at Looker.
Thank you, Elena. So as Elena mentioned in the beginning, my name is Connor Sparkman. I'm the Marketing Analytics Manager, which means I manage all internal analytics for our marketing, as well as collaborate with all of our demand generating teams. And so I'm going to dive in and start a little bit with our hierarchy of data needs at Looker. So I'm going to start by going over how and why we had to implement so many different experiences within Looker. And it really starts with the hierarchy of how people request data and how they utilize data within the company. So when we say business intelligence, what we mean is making data-informed decisions. And the first hurdle that most companies have to overcome is this idea around an analyst bottleneck. What you're trying to overcome is how do you get the data in the hands of the people who need it to answer these most commonly asked questions that all have to go through a single analyst or analyst team. And alleviating this analyst bottleneck usually starts with access. You need to give access to the people who use it. Satisfying this basic need really frees people up to start thinking strategically about their data and how to leverage it to get the insights they need. However, this original philosophy of solving this analyst bottleneck problem with more widespread access can have a side effect, and that side effect, it comes in the form of data chaos. Data chaos typically occurs when you give this expansive and ungoverned access to data so that everybody can pull what they want, but that can lead to conflicting insights all derived from the same data. For example, if you had sales and marketing all pulling data with differing criteria, you would have them come to different conversion rates for the same KPI. So access to data is just not enough. People need to trust it and they need to align on it. So to solve data chaos, it's really about building trust in the data across the company. So that can come in the form of more data governance. It can come in the form of curation of the most trusted content in a single place. But above all, it's about consistency. You need to be consistent with the access of the data as well as the trust behind the data that people are seeing and using to make decisions. Now, even after you have trust in the data, not all business users are going to trust themselves to pull the data. And this is where education and enablement comes in. So once people have access, once they have a trusted space, they need to choose the data. You, as an analyst, need to choose the data experience that brings answers directly to the users. So it's about tasking the analyst or the analyst team to not only bring the data to the user, but also emphasize this education and enablement to derive insight from it. So don't make them search for those easy answers. Now, from that, you're going to get self-service. So they have access, they trust it, and then they trust themselves to be able to utilize it. And this is where the magic happens, right? This is where people start implementing it on their day-to-day and being more confident in their decisions. And this can lead to being more proactive with data. So predictive forecasting, how do I use data to not only know where I've been, but make predictions of where we can go? This satisfies a higher level need. And it's truly the most valuable after these bottom three tiers have been satisfied consistently. And finally, you have the top, the pinnacle of everything, which is utilizing and leveraging the full potential of your data. And honestly, it's not that it's unattainable, but I don't think we've gotten there yet. We are continually evolving and pushing the bounds of what's possible. And I think it's not a good goal for people to always want to be rushing to this area, which most people would think of the concept of artificial intelligence or machine learning. But the magic of the data really lies in just alleviating and lightening the load of everyday tasks. So how do you use data to turn a week-long task into an hour-long task? If it helps you be more confident in the decisions that you're making, then you're already using data for good. So at Looker, there's a specific challenge that we were trying to overcome. As we rapidly grew, so did data access for all the business users. Now, when I arrived at Looker, it was probably one of the most data-driven organizations that I've ever been at, specifically within marketing and sales and all of our demand generating teams. The overall issue that we found was that everyone was working within silos, and there was a lot of misalignment between each of these organizations. And the reason is because of what I mentioned earlier with data chaos. We were all building our different experiences and different dashboards in different places, all on the business logic that surrounded each different department. So we didn't have alignment on the same KPIs because we all had different business logic that fueled all of the data that we were pulling. And this led to conflicting insights, and it became very difficult because people were just trying to prove their logic to each team rather than spending their time trying to drive business decisions. So our main solution for this was to really get all of the data that we had for each department, coalesce and curate it all within one place. We wanted to build strategically curated content, put it somewhere that made logical sense for all business users. That way they knew that when they came to this area, this was the trusted content for the specific solution that they were trying to implement. And so we focused on building these data experiences to solve these very specific and now aligned business needs, rather than focusing on just trying to get the answer within a silo. And the key here was to make sure that it was easily understood, it was scalable, and on top of that, that it was automated. We needed it to be consistently accurate so that teams knew that when they came to these places, they would get the right answer. And it also freed up these resources for analysts to start focusing and satisfying these more strategically driven requests. Now I'm going to pass it back to Elena so that she can go through exactly what we talk about when we're looking at the modern BI and analytics data experience.
Thank you so much, Connor. So the first experience that we're going to go deep into and talk about how we implement that at Looker is our modern BI and analytics experience. Now, it sounds straightforward. It's all in the name, and that's a component of it. But there's a piece of this that's also not your average BI, right? And so this is about serving up real-time information and really relevant reports and dashboards that can act as a starting point for this more in-depth analysis. And so this idea here is that with modern BI and analytics, a dashboard is your starting spot, not your end. If you are able to implement this well, everybody should have easy access to trustworthy data, as Connor mentioned, that will enable people to make better data-driven decisions every single day. And you can spot a BI and analytics experience in the wild by asking if it is analytical in nature, if it's explorable, and first and foremost, if it's data-centric. So to talk about modern BI and analytics at Looker, I'm going to pass it back to Connor.
Thank you, Elena. So at Looker, to solve this problem, this challenge that we were trying to overcome before, for us, what we really focused on was business alignment. And we did this specifically between our demand generating departments. So marketing and sales and partners and alliances, SDR organization. And we did this by building a single source of truth to identify the strengths and weaknesses within these departments and the pipeline as a whole. So as a SaaS company, we identified stages in our demand generation funnel that maintain consistent conversion rates across time. What this means is our DG leaders all coalesced and aligned on a single stage, which we call stage 2. So what you're looking at here is a snapshot of our stage 2 dashboard that we created. And it's actually a set of different dashboards that we all curated to focus on this stage 2 goal. Now, obviously, all the data is obfuscated here, but what it allows us to do is look at each team and identify different strengths and weaknesses across all the different regions and account segments that we have and that we set our goals against. And sales still have their quotas, marketing still have campaigns and open rates and registrations, and we all have different goals we're still tracking towards. But as a company, when we come together, we're all aligning on a very specific and common goal. And this gives us consistency across the business. So now when we dive in on the data, it's all focused around getting to this stage 2 goal. We can still track all of our other goals, but we have one place that we're all aligning. And this gives us a really good single source of truth, and it fosters this trust and accountability. We are all accountable to one another and the business as a whole. And that way we can identify areas that are working and areas that we should all focus our attention towards. Now, the goal for us, specifically us as the analysts, was to focus on building a product that fostered this alignment and actionable insight. It allowed us for easy and dynamic analysis of the sales funnel all in one place. And the real goal here was immediate actionable insight. We stripped out the need for finger pointing. There wasn't a he said, she said of where our overall issues were in a funnel, but we could easily identify the key areas of strength and weaknesses and where our pipeline was coming from. The best part about this is it was all in a single curated space. And so we could explore further from here. And we already knew that we trusted the data because we had cross alignment between the analysts and between the teams that this was the data that we would want, that we would trust. Previously, if there was a question that was brought up in the meeting, it may take a group of analysts a week to answer it. We had to find time to meet, we had to build, we had to agree, and then we had to present back all just to get alignment on what could have been a very easily answered question. That's not to say Looker didn't help speed up this process, but it really lacked that immediacy that you need, especially now when everybody is all in one place, because we all know how hard it is at this juncture to be able to get that. And this really empowered the leaders to explore the data further in a space that they already knew and they already trusted. So again, I'm going to pass it back to Elena, and she's going to go through the next data experience.
Fantastic. Up next are our integrated insights. So this is all about infusing relevant information into the tools and products you already use, which will then hopefully enhance the experience of those tools and make you more effective. So one of my actually favorite ways about thinking about what is an integrated insight is you probably don't actually think of it as data. So probably similar to you, I have been ordering a lot of takeout for the last few months. And at the top of it, it says like your order is 9 minutes away. And if you think about that, like 9 minutes is really just a piece of data, but it's been integrated right into the experience that I'm within. Without even thinking about it, everyone at the company or at your table is making data-informed decisions. So to spot an integrated insight, you will notice that it is highly contextual. It's generally consumed in a passive manner, but it's highly informative and it is where you are working. So Connor has been talking about the use cases at Looker in our sales and our marketing departments. One of my favorite experiences implemented at Looker is one from we call them the DCL. They are the Department of Customer Love. In other words, they are also our chat support team. And so they have a widget that sits within their chat console that anytime a customer comes on chat, they automatically have access to the key information of this company. So on the right-hand side here, you can see that Emma, our chat support agent here, can understand what instance of like what type of Looker the customer is on and what data warehouse they're on, and all these really contextual insights that help her serve a better experience to our customer. And it's all right there for her, right within where she's working, integrated into her workflow. All right, so moving right along. Now we have our data-driven workflows. So if you imagine a workflow, it's some portion of it is based on timing, right? And so if your data is as fresh as it can be, you're able to supercharge these operational workflows with a complete near real-time view of your company. And what this means is that you're able to save time and money by putting your data to work in every part of your business, because your data actually knows everything about your company, right? Like your data understands if someone has bought something, if they returned it. And so if you can put that mind share to use in operations, then you're really gonna like step up a level. So a great way to spot a data-driven workflow is that it is highly operational, it is time sensitive, and it is very task-driven or task-oriented. These are some of our favorite examples at Looker, and I'm going to pass it over to Connor to tell you about those.
So the one that I'm going to highlight is actually from our marketing operations and our customer marketing team. In order to optimize and alleviate manual work for adding people to nurture streams, we have set in place a daily report that's scheduled within Looker, and every day it runs and it looks through our Looker instances for all of our customers and finds all the new users that have been added in the last day. Now, from there, we automatically send it to Marketo through the scheduled report via the API. Once all that information is in Marketo, we have the workflows just kick off and all new users are added to existing nurture streams. So we have alleviated any manual work. Our customer marketing team has new users that are being added to the nurture streams daily. And we have really been able to optimize our operational workflows in a very time-sensitive way. And so now I'm going to kick it back to Elena, and she's going to go through our final data experience custom applications.
Wonderful. So last up, we have the custom application, which is a bit of a beast. This is the idea of a purpose-built tool, and it's purpose-built to deliver data in an experience that's tailored to the job. So again, if you think through your life, like think about, well, maybe a couple months ago, think about yourself on a hotel booking website. When you search for something that's really just filters, that's returning a query result within the frame of a custom application. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here. And so what this means for you at your company is that you can build the exact experience that people need and thusly make them more effective and more efficient. And this ability to truly customize the data experience that your internal customers have, or your external customers for that matter, to build these, very couture almost data experiences is very cool. Because what you get when you have that is you have experiences that are really centered around the job that people are trying to do. And they're trying to fulfill this larger purpose, but at the end of the day, they are highly practical and tailored around what that person is trying to do. So one of our customers is Slack, and they are very crafty. But what they realized is that their sales teams were spending huge amounts of time building slide decks, which I'm sure that we can all, sympathize with, building slide decks for their customers that were really just like data polls, right? Like how many minutes have you spent? How many Slacks have you sent? Whatever it may be. And so what they did is they built a custom application that basically takes a single Slack command from Slack and turns that into an entire slide deck that a sales rep can use for their customers. And so basically, like in a matter of 4 minutes or so that it takes to spin that up, they're doing the work of about 8 hours of sales rep manual labor time. And this is all with this custom data application. So that wraps up our toured experiences. Before you leave today, I want to just leave you with a couple of things. First off, there are 4 key data experiences that you can deliver for your internal customers or for your external customers. The first is the tried and true modern BI and analytics. Think about Connor's story of Looker coming together, our sales and marketing teams coming together behind a single dashboard around our stage 2 console. Next up, we have the integrated experiences that bring the data to the people without even them knowing it. And you can remember that chat example that we had, or the next time you order food for delivery. Next up, we have the data-driven workflows powering the motion of your company. So the custom and tailored emails that our new customers get that are powered by a data experience and a data-driven workflow. And then finally, custom applications that just knock the socks off and don't even feel like data anymore. And that's Slack's example of their little slide builder. So, key takeaways for today. First, dashboards they're an important piece of the puzzle, but they are only a piece of the puzzle when it comes to giving users the data that they need. Second is that companies that deploy relevant data experiences win. They are more likely to survive disruption, and it is just good business to deploy lots of data experiences. And then finally, data experiences take countless shapes and forms, but ultimately they require a platform that gives you the freedom to truly be creative in how you want to deliver data to your end users. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Connor, for all of your wonderful color on the data experiences. And hopefully you have a wonderful rest of the day in front of you.